So, I'm sure you all agree that poodles are the cutest and the smartest, and dare I say, the chicest dog. You know, they're often called French poodles, but it turns out they aren't from France. But today, we are going to talk about one particular poodle, the cutest of the cute, the smartest of the smart, the chicest of the chic, Count Alexis Pulaski's masterpiece. That's the connection. Our story begins at the end of the Russian Civil War. This war brought a large refugee influx into the US from the sides who lost, including this man, Count Alexis Pulaski, a white Russian, an avid supporter of the Tsar, who arrived in New York City in 1926. Well, Count was actually just the middle name on his passport, but it opened doors for him all over town. He had the gift of gab. Years later, the Saturday Evening Post said, Pulaski is the kind of man who could sell a crate of Boy Scout handbooks to Nikita Khrushchev. He used this gift to quickly move into the social set and wheedle the Gilbert Kahns and Natalie Stuyvesant Pierponts out of enough money to set up Poodles Incorporated, a grooming salon just down the street from the 21 Club that became the it place for the well-heeled to socialize with their fluffy companions, while a live harpist soothed their rich, troubled souls. Yeah, those are dogs. Count Pulaski's brilliant poodle hairstyles became de rigueur for the poodlers. That's Count Pulaski up on the upper left, showing off the Royal Dutch cut, below the sailor cut, and then the top knot of the continental style, which is like a casual version of the man bun. And these cuts were so loved that they spread to the owners themselves. Ooh, Liz Taylor, ooh la la. A rather risque style, invented by Pulaski also, was the Mae West, which gave your pet the look of an ample bosom. It's, yeah. Count Pulaski single-handedly made poodles the pet to pet. James Brown, styling. Elvis in his ultra-hot days. Cary Grant doing a couch read with his smart companion. And especially female celebrities. They were drawn and they were regulars in the shop. Joan Crawford, pictured here, Dolores Del Rio, the ambassador to Italy, Claire Booth Luce, the ultra-wealthy like Hattie Carnegie. One tabloid at the time wrote, when a girl makes the big time, she traditionally acquires three things: minks, gems, and a poodle. But then, like a fireball from outer space, exploding into this poodle frenzy, on the 4th of August, 1946, a gray poodle puppy was born that was to change Count Pulaski's life. Voila, masterpiece. It was love at first sight, 9.5 inches at the withers, 8 pounds of gray canine perfection. He fell hard for this little dog, who was later described as having within him such an overwhelming charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent that Pulaski was compelled to share it with the whole world. And so he did. He feted it with the hoity-toity. He swathed little masterpiece into modeling jobs for dresses, hosiery, shoes. Here, for example, in the 1952 Vogue, nestling into a plum-lined sheath, superb in rayon crepe, a Milgram original for only $90, cheap at any price. And cruising him across the Atlantic, premier class, of course, to the Paris fashion shows, where he splashed, carried on the runways by gushing models. Like any celebrity, he had endorsements, shampoos, towels, matches, and most delightfully, a perfume christened kennel number 9. Just a moment. So a dog walks into a bar. Oh, wait, scratch that. A 3-legged poodle walks into a Western bar. He stops. He scans the room. And with a growl, he says, "I'm here for the man who shot my pa." Okay, so notice in the photo, he's been given the lion clip, which Pulaski thought was a more fitting masculine look for a virile dog. Turns out a very virile dog. He was pimped out at $500 a shag, which is $6,000 US today. Opla is what I say to that. Here we see society columnist Charlie Knickerbocker's breathless covering of masterpieces, Antics in Haiti, appearing to an audience of 5,000, ending with a cocktail bash at the US consulate, rushing off to Madison Square Garden, and then to Palm Beach. In another column, she claimed that Masterpiece had developed such rarefied tastes that his dog biscuits had to be served au gratin. And here he is on display in his combination picture frame and carrying case, surrounded by his awards. He was the first toy dog to win the dog show trifecta of championship, utility, and obedience. He was assigned his own bodyguards, as well as a personal beautician and a former lion tamer who was imported to the USA just to provide instruction for Masterpiece's party tricks. When guests showed up from around the world at Pulaski's Upper East Side apartment to meet the famous pup, he would walk in on his front paws, switch to his hind legs, and with an almost human-like growl, talk to them. And the big wow moment, the tour de force, was when Pulaski would turn to his beloved poodle and ask, "Are you a communist, Masterpiece?" At which point Masterpiece would shake his head in vigorous denial. Okay, so, you know, any story like this with such a meteoric rise has to come with a fall. And that happened one day in late May, 1953, at Poodles Incorporated. Masterpiece was reclining, as he did, on his little throne on display, and Pulaski went to answer the telephone. He was gone just for a moment, but when he came back, Masterpiece was gone. The staff was alerted, all searched high and low, no dog. The media went frantic. Cherchez la femme, headline, poodle, $11,000 a year red faux, gone, an anti-communist poodle dog, which has earned $11,000 a year for the last 3 years, disappeared today, and its owner said, "A female may be the cause of it all." The alarm went out to find the missing anti-communist dog and the mysterious female. Police were notified in 13 states across the eastern seaboard. Posters were placed on every telephone pole and fire hydrant. But the dog was never found. If today you go to the AKC library in New York, this really is what it looks like, you'll find Pulaski's collected papers. In them, you'll find copies of his annual monograph, issued each year in time for the holidays, written in the first person by Masterpiece himself, recounting his life and celebrity. And you'll find this endearing personal scrapbook with its touching, crude cut-and-paste job of Masterpiece under the loving arm of AP, Mr. Poodle himself. Inside this scrapbook, you'll see a reenactment of the crime done for the Dave Garroway TV show, where Masterpiece had been a familiar guest. You see the mysterious woman, described by an eyewitness as wearing a red coat, leaving with the dog trailing behind. Pulaski bitterly reflected in later years that Masterpiece would obey anyone who gave him commands in dog show fashion. So, we'll never know what really happened. Was it a deranged fan wanting Masterpiece for herself? Was it a dog-napping black marketeer? Money had been offered for Masterpiece, sometimes a lot of money, most famously by Rita Hayworth's husband, who is the Pakistani prince, Ali Khan, offered $25,000. Pulaski, of course, flat out refused. Cynical people speculated it was all another stunt by this consummate showman. But I would like to think that Masterpiece himself decided to set aside his life of glamour and high society for a paradise of his own, where he could spend his days pursuing simpler dog pastimes, chasing squirrels, slobbering, and having adventures of his own choosing. Count Pulaski never recovered. He worked for years on a magnum opus, Pulaski on Poodles, which was a gold leaf tome. It was intended to have a history of the poodle, glamour shots of poodles, art book quality, gushing praise about poodles, but he never finished, never could find a publisher. He appeared in a New York Times article in 1968, that's the picture here, which said with a certain hopefulness, the years have taken their toll, but Count Pulaski is undiscouraged and fights on with undiminished vigor. But he died a few months later. I know, it's just tragic. Okay, the Times obit fittingly featuring Masterpiece, but in a way, Masterpiece did live on. He had at least 300 children, sires, 350 sires by one count, and of course, countless grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Here is one of his pups in the loving arm of the First Lady of Argentina, Evita Perón. Another with Judy Garland and Liza and some guy. And Gary Cooper. And here's his sporty son. This is Just Johnny, who did a little modeling and was in the society pages a bit, but who never achieved the heights of his illustrious father. So I'd like to say here that, you know, there really was something absolutely special about Masterpiece, this special little dog. And maybe if each of us looked into our hearts right now, we might find someone there who is, at least to us, that special, that irreplaceable. I think we should pause for a moment to consider this. And when you find that special someone in your heart, you should raise your glass to them and toast with a line that Count Pulaski used to conclude his final monograph: masterpieces are rare, they should be cherished.